And your children are turned into mindless vassals who now they look up to some twit instead of looking up to Thomas Jefferson or looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer, an explorer, going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty, its incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shatter your mind talking about Justin Bieber.
Hello out there. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. We are back in the saddle. Welcome to another episode. This one's titled, Everything is BS Before Satoshi. BS, bullshit. BS before Satoshi. It's going to be a fun one today. This is the Reason to Believe show where we give a little bit of hope, I think, in a world looking for anything, any ounce of hope for the future. This is where you show up in the morning. So we're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Noster. So welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you today. And the overlying premise here on Reason to Believe is a twist of modern stoicism mixed with hard money. And building a world we want to see, building a world we're proud of, building a world that we'd be happy to leave down to our kids and their kids to come. So thank God, because we're kind of at a divergence right now in history where if we didn't have Bitcoin, we would be in a lot of trouble. But good news for us. Satoshi decided to write a white paper back in October of 2008. And the very first block was mined on January 3rd, 2009, a couple months later. And ever since then, the world's been a different place. A lot of people don't really know why or how, but it is nonetheless. And so we're going to spend some time talking about that today. We're going to have our good buddy Brandon coming on here, hopefully soon. I guess I got to send him the link here before he can come on. Whoops. But it's good to see you this morning. Hope everybody had a good weekend. I had a pretty lazy weekend. I'm not going to lie. Oh, I need to get Brandon's email. But good to see some faces in the chat this morning. A lot of faces in the chat this morning. We got some ducks. Duckpocalypse. Okay. Well, let's get to her. Let's get this invite sent off to Brandon and let's hit the road. We should tell Noster that we're live too. That'd be a good idea. Can't leave Noster out. Big shout out to the Rednecks over in Rumble this morning. I see a pretty good crew over there so far, and growing. A growing crew over on Rumble. So we got, what do we got? 25 people over there. We got 8 people who have pressed the thumbs up. And we got a couple people. Not a couple people. One person already sending some love over on Rumble. Sats and Sunsets. I don't know who that was for. I didn't even see any white in the chat there, Sats and Sunsets. He got a subscription for somebody. It looks like Praetorian got it. Look at that. Oh, that's why. Praetorian was there. That didn't take very long. Praetorian got a membership from Sats and Sunsets. And Praetorian's no slouch either. He's usually one of the guys buying memberships over there. So it's good to see Praetorian got that one. And we got a couple more white chats in there. We got a golden whale, Sats and Sunsets with $5. And he said, may the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you. I should start writing this down. I should start taking some notes here. That'd be a good idea, hey? Okay, so we got Sats and Sunsets, Memby. We got Sats and Sunsets. May the 4th be with you. And we got Joshua. Said, we don't want no bare necks here. He gifted a subscription. Josh Uwa, the king himself. We got the king and the smith hard at her this morning. And it looks like Koo 01. Koo 01 was gifted the membership from Joshua. I see a young Burtis over there too. A bare neck, we'll call him or her. Him or her, but that's it. Okay, let me send this to Brandon before we go any further here. I saw somebody sent in a zap this morning. I don't know who it's from. There was no note attached to it or anything. And it was a random number. 16. What was it? 16338 or something? Let me find it. Who was it? Who's going to take credit for that this morning? I was right. 16388. 16388. I don't know what that number would suggest. I couldn't think of who that would be from. There's no note. There's no name. There's nothing. 16388. So hopefully somebody claims that this morning. But, geez, I got to freaking send this to Brandon. Give me a minute. It's going to be a good chat today with Brandon. I got a couple things to discuss with Brandon. If Brandon and I had the ability, we could probably have a 5-hour chat today. We're not going to. I don't know if that's good news or bad news. But okay, it sounds like he's going to be about 10 minutes. So we got 10 minutes. We'll have Brandon here. I got to sneeze. Okay. Oh, that was Ginger. Okay, Ginger. Yeah, there was no note attached to it. Sorry, no note again. Thank you, Ginger. That's a big one to start the month, I guess. I guess May 1st we had Fat Zap Friday. But thank you, Ginger. So Ginger, early candidate so far for the MOB. Okay, who's here? Who's who in the zoo today? Praetorian's here, first in the chat. The Guardian himself at 8:44. He says, good morning. Good morning, Praetorian. Good morning, Ginger. Right behind him. And we got the captain in the house. The captain is here. Sats and Sunsets is here. Buck52 says, what time is it? Oh, so I guess when I click on a link now, it goes gray for me. That's new. I like that. Then StreamYard kind of lets me know which ones I've already brought up on the screen. What time is it? Sats and Sunset says clobbering time. Clobbering time. Don't forget the like button, YouTube. Yes. Thank you, Praetorian. He's over on both today. Hell, he might even be on the Noster stream. Nope. Okay, but we got a couple big boys over there. We got the king. Joshua says, good morning, Noster. Josh says, Arn, let's get her done Monday, pal. I'm hoping this is my last week of unemployment, eh? So where are you going to, Josh? What's the next step? What's the next chapter in the book of Joshua? The book of the king. We're going to be spending a little bit of time talking about kings today. And we got Moravian back again today. Moravian with a double shot of espresso. A big one. He just says, hi there. Good morning, Moravian. Good to see you, man. Great to see you this morning. Thanks again for showing up, and thanks for the support. Fum ducks. Pad Thai time. Yeah. Do you make pad Thai with duck? I feel like you do. There it is. That's the membership right there. Praetorian got it. Backpackers here. Good morning, Backpacker. Says no primal feed. It looks like it's working on Zapstream. Lift planner roll for Siemens. Nice. Siemens. What a name that is. Siemens. Remote work from home, travel to the U.S. for site. Oh, that sounds like a pretty good gig, man. That sounds way better than sitting in a crane. Remote work from home, travel to the U.S. for site inspections, etc. Damn. Joshua says, my resume is top of the pile, so I have a good chance. Heck yeah. That'd be awesome, man. Then you got more time for the crew here. You don't have to be falling asleep in cranes anymore. You can catch the whole thing. Or you can just be sleeping all day on a recliner, I guess. Mark is here. Mark, Bob, Stuart, the boys. Good morning. Happy Monday. James is here. Good morning, James. Where are you, sir? I don't know what you mean. Young Bertus with a duck. And a nice looking woofer there. A nice looking woofer. Sue. Sue's over on YouTube. Sue, also known as Zuzan. Good morning, Zuzan. Mike is here. Good morning, Micah. Micah. Trying to say that name so many times that I'll never say it wrong again. Working so far. The key to change is what? What's the key to change? Repetition. There's Koo right there. Koo01, the newest redneck in the chat. Eatable Zebras here. Stripes, good morning. Koo was gifted a membership by the king. The king building castles. The king and the smith building some castles this morning. Getting some more rednecks in here. Joshua's over on Rumble too. And I miss Paulo, LITF. A relic from the past. A relic from the past. Paulo, LITF. Living in the future. What a great community. It has evolved. It's evolved and has picked up a lot of steam and a lot of people all along the way. I just imagine the living in the future kind of as a train. As a train on the tracks, going down the tracks. And it started with, what, 3 of us? I think Daniel was the first one to get a membership over in Patreon for Living in the Future. Letha was pretty early over there too. And slowly, over time, people just kept jumping on the train. Now we got like 250 people on the train. And the more people that get on that train, just like anything, the harder it is going to be to stop it or even to slow it down. We got a lot of momentum. So shout out to Paulo, shout out to the Living the Future community, and shout out to the new visionaries. We got a good crew over there, man. Holy cow. What are we at now? I feel like we've added almost 100 people in the last week. And we're going to be starting tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be the very first day of the new digital homestead course. 240 people over there. Wow. You can join for free now. You can join for free as a member if you want to, but I recommend you sign up as a premium member so you can be part of our course starting tomorrow, the digital homestead. That's going to be a revolutionary course, I think. It really is. It's going to be a much different approach to anything that I've ever seen in Bitcoin before. So the shout out to the Trailblazers who are going to be going through that tomorrow. Good to see you, Apollo. J-Dog's here. J-Dog says, good day, all. It's a nice bank holiday in the U.S. Nice. Nice. So Josh said, we don't want any bare necks. Ginger claimed the zap. And Sats and Sunset says, stream not showing up in Primal. Huh. I don't know what to tell you. The Lebowski, the big Lebowski, says, good morning. I just opened a 4% cash ISA in the UK. So yeah, it looks like Bitcoin is like totally overrated. 4% cash ISA. Good morning, Lebowski. Man, I better slow down on this coffee. It's going to be gone in like 5 minutes. Kachok's here. Good morning, Kachok. Salute to you, my friend. And Zuzan says, started the process to get on ShakePay. Nice. You weren't on there before? Hopefully use that link, because you need a referral link to get the majority of those features, like shaking and shaking for sure. I don't know how many other features you need with the link, but hopefully you used it. Camille's here. Good morning, Camille. Says, good morning, eh? Good morning, Camille. And Jerry loves freedom, the man himself. He says, can a black man be a redneck? Absolutely. Is he a redneck? He is a redneck over there. Yep. We got a few bare necks over there, but who knows? Okay, well, let's check on the mempool. Good to see you, Jerry. Jerry, the man himself. Jerry Legendary. Oh, what's this? Little Shania today? Okay. A little slow Shania today. You're still the one. Shania. What a babe. Okay, what's going on in the mempool today? What's going on in the mems? How are we looking? Well, I'd say we're looking pretty good. I don't know why I don't know how this makes sense. Can somebody explain this to me? The first thing I see here, I'm seeing a positive 3.83% adjustment, but we're 3 blocks behind. We're 3 blocks behind, and it's saying that there's a 3.83. I think we saw this another time. I think there was an issue with it. I forget what happened, though. I think it's just a mempool error. Let's see if the time chain's any different. It's got to be on the time chain. Time chain's got everything. Hal Finney's birthday today. Happy birthday to one of the earliest and most important contributors to Bitcoin. No doubt about that. Happy birthday, Hal. What a great name. Did you know my grandpa's name was Hal? And he was a legend among legends. He would be right up there with Hal Finney himself. Couple great Hals. Happy birthday, Hal. Okay, so what are we looking like here? Yeah, see, that's wrong. Or is it? No, what am I looking at here? No, that's right. How though? It says the next adjustment's going to be May 15th, and it's looking like a 3.81% upwards, which also agrees to what the mempool had there. But I don't understand that, because we're behind. How would it be an upwards adjustment if we're behind? We're behind in blocks, but the average time is still over 10 minutes. Yeah, but if the difficulty adjustment were up, like it is, 3.8 upwards, that means that the block should be below 10 minutes. Because when it's below 10 minutes average block time, that means that it needs to slow down, which means we need to turn up the difficulty adjustment. So this doesn't make any sense to me. It couldn't make any less sense to me right now. 3 blocks behind, which agrees to this. That's what that would mean. We're 3 blocks behind because it's taken just over 10 minutes for a block to come in. So we're a little bit behind because it's taken more than 10 minutes. But I don't know why this is upwards. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe Bitcoin's over. Shit. Pack it up. Pack it up. The network's failed. The network has failed. No, it hasn't. We're actually at the block height of 947,879. 947,000 blocks, 879 since January 3rd, 2009. That is the thumbnail today. January 3rd, 2009. That's an important date in history. That's when this block, the Genesis block, was mined 17 years ago-ish. 17 years and almost exactly 4 months. Man, time's flying. How the hell is it May already? So this was the first Genesis block here, the very first one. And you can actually go through yourself and you can look at every single block that has happened in Bitcoin's history from 0 to 947,880. So there you have it. Luxor just hit that one. Congrats, Luxor. Not to be confused with the cat that lives on the railing outside. Luxor. This is Luxor. Okay, time chain today. I'll check on this quickly. And we are still in the epoch. Oh. Be careful here, Jor. Better be careful. Epoch V. V for what? What does V stand for? 5. We're in the 5th epoch. What else does it stand for? V for vendetta. V for visionaries. V for ducks fly together in formation. The subsidy in Epoch 5 is still 3.125 block, which is the payment. That's how miners get paid. They get the subsidy every block. So if you mine a block, that's what you get. You get the subsidy and you get the transaction fees from the block. So every time you send a transaction on the mainnet, on the Bitcoin layer 1, you have to set a transaction fee. And all those transaction fees, they get paid to the miner. And Mempool just hit the last block. They're coming in. So subsidy plus the fees for the total reward that the miners get, which in this case was 3.1307. So not a great block. Not a great block there for Mempool. They only got about 570,000 sats plus the subsidy. But so this is the fixed amount. This is the variable amount. This changes every block. This changes every epoch. And this is the total reward paid to the miner. So total supply is 20.02 million, which means there's only 0.98 million for the next 114 years. Crazy. We're up, I guess. I think we hit 80K. Was that this morning or last night we hit 80K? I don't know. But who cares? I made a post on Nostr saying we're still 47,000 blocks, or sorry, 47,000 away from Thunderstruck. Which, if you're on Nostr, every time there's a new all-time high of $1,000 up, we post a video. We post a video of Thunderstruck, Angus Young playing Thunderstruck. And 80K is great, but we're still 47,000 away from another Thunderstruck. So we got a ways to go. But who cares? Because we're getting cheap sats. You got $1, 1 unit of trash, 1 unit of illusion, 1 unit of the worst money in human history. You got one of those, you can trade it for 1,259 of the best money. Units of sovereignty, units of freedom. And pretty good trade. 1 unit of the worst money in human history for 1,259 units of the best money in human history. Pretty good trade. We call that the deal of a lifetime. And that's what it is. That's what it is, my friends. Okay, poster worthy. What was that about Sats and Sunsets? Poster worthy. Poster worthy. Oh, Shania. Zuzan says, yes, I used your referral link. Okay, good. Then you'll get all the unlocks there. Josh says, fucking A, Jared. Love a good patriot in the chat. Amen to that. We love us some JLF around here. We're big fans of JLF. Jerry loves freedom. Conrad's over there. Conrad Zapp 963 and said, good intentions app heading your way. Thank you, Conrad. And Joshua says V for vigilantism. Vigilantism. True. We are vigilantes in a way. What do we got here? We got Caribre. Caribre says, hey, George, great work you're doing. I really enjoy watching you here from Germany. Do you know our best German content creator on YouTube, block trainer Roman Reher? Keep it up. Greetings from Germany. No, I've never heard of that, but I know that Germany has some fantastic Bitcoiners, that area. I guess it'd be, correct me if I'm wrong here. I could be wrong about this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Germans don't really say they're German, right? Like they say they're from Deutschland. Is that true? Like Germans don't say they're German. They say they're from Deutschland. But yeah, there's a lot of great Bitcoiners over there. We got a lot of great Bitcoiners from Germany in the Visionaries community. How many? I guess it's tough to say because some people hide their location, which is fair. But for the people who don't hide their location, how many people are from Germany? I feel like there's a lot. Where are we here? Germany. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 people from Germany. 1 from Czech, 1 from the Netherlands, 1 from France, a couple from Switzerland, and then a bunch on the UK and lots in Ireland too. 1 in Poland. I think Moravian's over here somewhere. I guess I should have the map up, but whatever. Deutschland. Okay, that's what I thought. Well. Look who it is.
Jor, chat. What is good? Feels like it's been a month or two. Holy cow.
I used a mug in honor of you today.
Let's go. Yeah, I don't mind
the
Bitcoin.
B today is for Brandon.
I love it.
Sometimes it's for Bitcoin. Sometimes it's for Bridget. But today it's for Brandon.
It's malleable. Ambidextrous.
How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I feel like I'm doing a little bit better than you.
Yeah, it was an interesting week last week. All good. I mean, good, but just very tiring. Not very little sleep. And then I flew straight from Vegas to my brother and sister-in-law's house across the state of Michigan, and just got home late last night. So it's been a solid week since I've been home. So I'm a little out of sorts, but we're gonna make it. We're still winning, Jor.
So what was the total time then? Away.
Yeah, I left Vegas last Monday I left Michigan at like 10 a.m. and then last Monday, and then I got in last night. Basically, when I got back to my house, it was like 10 p.m. basically. So almost a full 7 days. I think 12 hours short basically of 7 full days gone. So just not having all the clothes I needed. Just didn't, I couldn't, the problem was I couldn't pack. I forgot to tell my wife to bring me stuff when she, when she met me on the west side of the state, and I couldn't pack all this stuff obviously in Vegas, like preemptively, because I didn't want to bring a bunch of extra stuff. So
yeah,
I was fortunately I was able to clean my clothes, but I didn't have like the appropriate clothes. I had, it got a little bit colder in Michigan again, of course, by the time I got back. So I was borrowing my brother-in-law's, some of his stuff, a coach, or going for walks, taking the dogs out, stuff like that. I was like, oh boy. But yeah, things could be way worse in life. So it's just one of those, it's just the disoriented. Everyone knows that feeling of like just being disoriented, right? And then you're like, you need the vacation from the vacation, like all that stuff. You're just like, you've been gone, you didn't plan all of it. And you're just like, holy cow, like what is going on? And then lack of sleep on top of all that.
It just throws you out of the loop.
Yeah, you're not in routine. We're routine animals, obviously, right? So creatures. So it's
Last year after the conference, I was in Vegas for 5 nights last year because I went to the golf earlier.
Ooh, yeah.
And then I flew straight from Vegas to Calgary because we had a wedding in Canmore, Alberta.
Oh, wow.
Which was an open bar and the absolute piss up. So I was out of it for a while last year.
Yep.
How was the conference though?
It was good. I mean, it was great. It was great to, it was a little quieter than last year, which was awesome. Bear market vibes, but the bear market vibes, as any true Bitcoiner, real Bitcoiner, which, I guess let's quantify what a real Bitcoiner is. It's just someone who believes in Bitcoin, Bitcoin only, Bitcoin first, over everything. Those are generally the people that were there. And, again, if anyone's been in here a cycle or two and has that ethos, it's the most fun because the vibes are actually really high. Price was never talked about one time. I literally in the 3 or 4 days, never heard price mentioned one time. Just people building all the cool like AI and Bitcoin stuff being talked about, local LLM models versus, big, like all kinds of cool talk and things that being built. Jeff Booth had a great talk that I didn't see till later on. I did see one of his small talks, like earlier, it was like one of the 2 panels, I think, or two things. I did my panel. I saw Jeff's with Ben Perrin and Nathan and Matt Hill from Start 9. Amazing little panel, like on the first day of the industry day, which is like a small little, like, 100, 200 people sitting there just kind of like listening. Awesome talk. Got into, which if that's online anywhere, that's a great talk to listen to. Not sure if it is because it was like the little freedom is like a little freedom booth, like in the side of the conference. And, but that was all about like, the local AI models, LLMs, sovereignty, Bitcoin nodes, like all kinds of really cool stuff. So that was a really unique talk. And the vibes were high though. I guess the moral of the story though, is like people are pumped all over the place. Everyone I spoke to, everyone I saw, just huge smiles. We're winning. We're going to keep winning. And there's really not much more you can say. It just doesn't happen on the time horizon we want it to happen. Obviously, it doesn't happen tomorrow, but it's pretty obvious when you go to stuff like that, as or anyone in the chat that's been to a conference, and especially bear market conferences, you see the real ones, and you get pretty excited real quick because when you know. So
last year was a bull conference.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of. It was busy. It was very. I mean, that was the only conference I've ever been to, but it was busy, and there was a lot of booths, a lot of shit coins.
Yep.
It looked like there was a little bit of shit coin in this year, but yeah, I would agree in the sense of the bear market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same kind of thing even on YouTube. It's like you kind of see people just fade away slowly.
Yep.
But the channels that are still kind of going, I think, are the ones that are going to be here for the next little while.
It's like, again, another great Canadian, Nolan Bowerley, talks about this all the time. Or I think he was the first one years ago that I heard say, 5-6 years ago, was you go back and look at like Paul Krugman, right? Like you go back and look at Fiat economists, or you go look at like Fiat news or journalists, journos, stuff like that. And everything they say is just built on a faulty premise, obviously, because it's, follow the money. There's some type of ideology they're trying to push arbitrarily or whatever it is, right? So they're getting paid to say it. And so you look at like Paul Krugman going back to the fax, the printer, fax comments or whatever it was in the 90s, all the way till now. Like he's constantly wrong. Go back and look at his work. But so for some reason, he still has a job, right? And so like then you go look at Bitcoiners in contrast, and it's all built on first principles. Like go back and look at Bitstein's work, some of the earliest stuff, like Andreas, Bitstein, Pierre Rochard. It's like, and ironically, would Paul Krugman ever go back and assess like, how have I been over the last 30 years in public? No, but guess who's doing that? Pierre Rochard and Bitstein. Like you can't make this stuff up. And so what Nolan had said was like, you can tell very easily like that this group over here, they stand on first principles, evergreen, just first nature or first principle, laws of nature, like things like that, where they're almost never going to be wrong. Like they might get a little nuance wrong here and there, obviously, or timing wrong, things like that. But it's going to be directionally correct almost always.
Right.
Where like the fiat side is completely out in left field, just like made up, pretty much made up in essence, like green energy is a great part of that, right? It's a scam. It's to control people globally and then to scam you of your money. And like renewable energy on surface, good idea. Like I'm not opposed to it by any means. Like I think it's great. Like you use the sun, like do all the things we can, like brilliant. But the free market will tell you when they need that, when they want that. You don't need to push it, 100 years early or 50 years early, like the government tries to do. That's how you know it's a scam. That's how you know, so anyway, and that's the nuance in life, which, we talk a lot about here, right? Like there's so much nuance that's lost in life where it's like, well, you hate green energy. You hate women. You should. It's like, wait, what? Like, no, I have a bunch of women in my life. Like, I got a mother. I got a wife. I've got little girls. Like, so, like, but for some reason, people don't. They say these things and they never zoom out for 2 seconds and be like, huh? I wonder if that guy really does hate women, or does he really hate the climate? Like, I breathe the same air you do. I drink the same water you do. Like, hello, let's wake up. So then you would think a discerning, thinker would say, huh, let me think about that. Is that really true? Because he does do those things. He has a lot of women he loves in his life, and he drinks the same air, like drinks the same water and breathes the same air. So maybe that's not true. Like, maybe there's something to that. It's like, no, just light people's brains on fire and they just like go with it. And it's just, here we are, Mindset Mondays, Jor. It's all.
Well, it's interesting because that ties in a little bit, I think, to what I want to talk to you about today. And I titled the show "Everything is BS Before Satoshi," which is kind of interesting in the sense that it's BS before Satoshi. And there's a couple of ways I want to go with this, and I'm gonna, I think, let you kind of guide it a little bit because you're a lot more knowledgeable in this subject. But when I look at Bitcoin, I think of it as like more than just a monetary network. And I see some comments in the chat here about the opera term, the spam, the BIP 110. I'm one of the guys. I think you're on the same page as this. Mm-hmm. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like the software theory kind of suggests that Bitcoin is actually more than a money. And so when I think about Bitcoin being more than a money, being a brand new approach to freedom, recording history, and unit of measurement, those are the kind of three things that I point to there, including money. Obviously, it's a great money.
Yep.
But when I think about that, I've always thought of like recording history and not being able to change anything, and what kind of innovations that'll lead to in the future when they don't have the ability to change things or destroy things anymore. Because once you get something in a block, it's there forever and nobody can alter that. And so one thing I've been kind of thinking about more and more lately is the Bible. Mm-hmm. And how many frickin' times the Bible has changed throughout history. And the reason why I kind of tie to what you were talking about there, because when people see the world, they say, yeah, he doesn't like green energy and therefore he's this. He's a Bitcoiner, so therefore he's a this, right? Like but they don't see each other as being equal. And I think one of the things I've been kind of just scratching the surface on. It's something I'm interested in. I'll just say that. I'm not an expert in it, far from, but I'm interested in it. And I think the kind of two things that I take away from like Jesus was that he said to love God, love thy neighbor. People have different interpretations of what he meant by God, but thy neighbor, I think he clarified several times that means everybody else, which means you should just love everybody else because they are essentially you. We are the same. We're the same as him in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
In terms of the flesh, right?
Yep.
So what do you think about that? Like in terms of how many times the Bible has changed, how far have we got away from the truth, and how much, I guess this is a big question here, but like how much is that going to be changed in the future when they don't have the ability to make a new issue of something or a new edition to fit their narrative that they want? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think about it just in the sense of it, as part of life, obviously, where things change. It's kind of like the game of telephone, right? Where you learn a lot of things that they're kind of hearsay in a way, right? In this game of telephone where you're hearing stories. And this is why it's very important, going back to the source material, like you said, reading the white paper, reading the Bible, even though, did the King of England not like certain things? He wanted to marry, whatever, so he took a few books out of the Bible, and a lot of people believe, they think that's the right version of the Bible, which I do not. Like you can't just pick and choose what you want. So yes, that's a very real thing. So, and again, it even goes on the micro level. That's more of a macro, the micro level of, hey, did my Sunday school teacher teach me, she had a slightly different version of how she interpreted something, right? And then you have that version and then you pass it down. Maybe it's slightly different, so like I thought about this over the years a lot, like how far off am I from like the real initial origins of, what it was? So yeah, like I've gone down those kind of rabbit holes, and that's, that's the journey of life too. And I think we've talked about on this channel as well of being a discerning person, being a truth seeker, trying to do your homework, because that's what matters at the end of the day. And I think so many people, like we just talked about in the beginning, they hear something and they just run with it. And they just like, there's no discernment. There's no, doing the homework and learning is part of life. Like God gives us those higher faculties. And like he has, animals just have the five senses, and then we have the six higher faculties, like he does, intuition, the will, reason, imagination, memory, all these things where, not to side tangent too much, but really quick, but like the Spirit Airlines going down this weekend, man, that really, like my gears are really ground down about that. And it's not because Spirit Airlines itself went down, it's because how many more times do we need to get punched in the face? Like we just no memory of like anything going on, like just not using higher faculties. Our senses have been so dulled through whatever, the bread and circus, through legal and illegal drugs, through gaslighting, through whatever it might be. You're on the hamster wheel of Fiat. And so you're so distracted and you have all these humans that can be discerning, that have the six higher faculties. And we've been so dulled that we can't remember Elizabeth Warren. And I was trying to look up this morning. I didn't have time to yet. So someone might know, but it was like the JetBlue, there was a merger, all this, there was like antitrust stuff going on to kind of help this and not have this happen. And it was all for the little guy, like this is ridiculous. We can't have these things, blah, blah, blah. And here we are. Now the little guy doesn't have a job. The little guy can't fly a plane now and go across country or go because you just bankrupted Spirit Airlines. And it's like this common theme over, Mondami in New York. We're gonna have government owned stores, grocery stores. I mean, like how many, we can go back to thousands of years ago, the Emperor Diocletian and the Edict of Prices trying to freeze all the prices of everything. And every time these morons do this, it leads to death, despair, and destruction. I'm just beside myself right now, Jordan, because I don't know how in 2026 with the AI and all these things we have now at our disposal, that these things are so rampant and we just continually go down the same path, make the same mistakes. We let people who are the arson, the firefighter, the Elizabeth Warrens of the world, these Mondamis, the AOCs, and just do the same stuff, beat you over the head and gaslight you about where I'm for the little guy. I'm compassionate. I'm this and that. And then everything they do, it literally destroys the little guy in every way, shape. The bag handler, gone. The checkpoint lady at Spirit Airlines, gone. No job. These people are out of work. The pilot's gone. See ya. So did that really work? And it's like the problem and the solution, or whatever, like however you want to say that, they're disconnected from each other. So like these dumb things happen a year later or 10 years later. So no one connects the actual problem.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the money, right? Just the money being evil itself. The money, the currency we have, it's not a money. The currency we use, breaking multiple commandments by its very existence. You drink for the chalice. We've talked about this. And now you get all the sin afterward. You bite the apple. It doesn't matter. It's not like Cain or Abel, like they're the ones that did it. No, it's someone that said, we're drinking from that chalice of easy currency. We are taking the bite of the apple. And now you know all the sin afterward. You get all the repercussions of that. It's not like one guy up here doing whatever. And that's what's so hard for humans to kind of see and discern. And they just like are grasping at straws. And so anyway, kind of coming full circle back to the what you had asked me about this. Yeah, I think about this all the time. And then bring it all the way back to the beginning of your question, which is the soft war. I'm a huge believer in the soft war thesis in the sense of the abstract power versus real power. I believe Bitcoin is money. It's the greatest form of money that there is. I'm not going to say I'm an expert in all the rest of the use cases for Bitcoin. I think there's going to be other things that happen with it that people are going to come up with. Maybe they already have. Some use cases will come with Bitcoin that we haven't even found yet, in essence, right? Mm-hmm. And just like electricity, like it's going to have all these use cases over time. And so I'm just beginning to explore those things as well. But I want to be very clear. Like the money part is far and away the most important thing to me. Yeah. Because I know that there's the push and like to put things in the chain and to lock things in. I'm on surface, I'm against that, but I'm open to things, if that makes sense. Like it needs to be money first and foremost, in my opinion. And then if we have conversations about, okay, should this be in there? Should not? What are the protocol to do it? What can and what can't be? Like those things, yes, they need to be fleshed out and they need to be talked about. And the problem is I'm not an expert in what else out there is that we can have that's immutable, I guess, to store data or to store things. That's the thing that I need to do more research on, is what other opportunities are out there that we can store these important documents on elsewhere. So anyway, that's the thing that I think is going to be big going forward. And so anyway, I hope that kind of answers a lot of what you were asking, because it's obviously a massive thing. We've seen book burnings for a lot of human history, or well, not a lot, but the last 500 years or what have you. And we've seen some recently in the last handful of years. That's why I love physical books, just because, it's like, okay, come take them, like the digital stuff's great as well. But, unless we have some decentralized, way to do this. And again, is it Bitcoin someday? Is it something else? I don't know that answer. And some way to have these distributed data storage file things, like on surface, again, Bitcoin to me is money. It records the transactions of those things. Like if you're going to have, hey, we're doing this thing over here, it's recording all that. It's the accounting mechanism. I don't know right now if that should be any further than that. I'm open to hearing things. And for some reason, we have a hard time debating a lot of that right now. But yeah, I'd obviously lean toward it being money, and then, hey, let's find some other ways to record these things and forever, because it's incredibly important. So that way we're not having these book burnings and doing again, part of this cycle of history where we're constantly having to relearn everything again. It's wild.
Well, because it changes based on who is in power at the time, right? Like that's how the Bible would have evolved so many times, because whoever was in power, they made their own version of it.
Yep. That's it.
And I think that two things here, like for me, from my perspective, I think that having something that records history in an immutable way that cannot be changed, it's going to change a couple different things, because I really believe that my original thinking here was that if we had the ability to access the information from, let's say, the days of the pyramid, like if we had that information today, could you imagine how much further ahead we would be, for one? Yeah. But the other thing too is I just think of, if we would have been taught the original Bible as it was written, I think that society would be a lot different today. Because I think that the way that it was written, from my perspective anyways, it's much different than the version that we see today. Because the version that we see
There's
today,
literally a bunch of different versions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally,
yeah.
Yes.
But it just seems like it's much more based around like fear and like waiting for something later after you're already gone, versus like, again, loving God, loving thy neighbor. And I just think that if we had the real copy of that, all the teachings through the years, how our society has been kind of shaped by that version of it, I think is much more in line with like fear and procrastinating for a better life outside of where we are right now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Deep.
Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so that's really deep. So this is really deep. So my belief. No, this is great. I mean, this is great because Bitcoiners really don't go down these rabbit holes, unfortunately. This is the genesis of life. So they should, and I think they will over time. But in my opinion, in my belief, in just like my learnings of the Bible and everything, and Adam and Eve were, like we talked about earlier, Adam and Eve took the bite of the apple. We were made in God's image, which you alluded to earlier. We were made in his image, and so we are very similar to him in many ways, but we are human, so, he is God, he is a deity. And then there's the angels, the choirs of angels, and then there's humans. And so we never knew our end state. Like, we didn't know why we were here. Like, even Adam and Eve, to my knowledge, didn't know why they were here. They just knew that, hey, I'm in communion with God. I'm with him, walking with him in the garden, and everything was perfect. Literally, it was a utopia. Like, this is why humans, in a way, have been trying to, it's weird, Jor, because like in a way, like I do think there's some politicians, some people are going to, be screaming in here in a second, but I do believe there are some politicians, that they believe like we can have utopia on earth, basically. And like, that's where you get like the Mandamis, you get some of these people, not saying he's the one or not, but I'm saying, I think that some of these people just truly believe, hey, if you just let me do it, like we can do this. And it's like, it's not that simple, like it's not. And so it goes back to the Genesis here, Genesis story of the devil, the angels, because the angels know. So the choirs of angels know why they're here. They know their existence. They know, like, God gave them the full boat, and humans don't have that. And so that's where God has grace for us, because he didn't give us that full boat. Like, we don't have man's search for meaning, all this stuff. So we don't know the full story, and they do. And that's why they're judged even harder. And basically Lucifer and the third of angels, Satan, he said, no, I know them more than you, God. Like, I want your power, in a sense, long story short, like, I want your power. and God created all the angels. So again, just going through this pecking order, like God's literally above all. He literally created all the angels, and then some of them went against him and rebelled and said, "No, I'm good. I'm all cool here." And Saint Michael, which is a lower angel, actually, which is embarrassing to Satan, cast them into hell, basically, or banish them down to hell. And the third of angels that sided with Satan, basically, or Lucifer. So all that being said, that's where, like, humans, Satan, the serpent came and tricked us and caused deception and deceit, because to your point, that's what we did have. We had this full communion with the animals, with the garden. We had limitless food, infinite everything. And God was just like, "Hey, I want you to be my creation." And we chose, no, I'm going to be God. Actually, I think I know better than you, because what did we want? We wanted the knowledge of good and evil. And so now that's where fear comes in. So there, instead of just trusting fully in the Lord, we said, maybe he wasn't being truthful with us. Boom. It's like, or like maybe people might know Sodom and Gomorrah, where Lot and his wife and his two daughters were leaving, and the angel, Gabriel, I can't remember which angel, said, "Don't look back. Whatever you do, don't look back." And again, what is that analogy for? Basically, like, trust in the Lord. You don't need to look back at the past, like trust in him. And what did she do? She looked back into the city to see what was happening. Boom, gone, turns into a pillar of salt. And so you can kind of see, as you put all these things together, you see, like, we did have that communion, and we're yearning for that in a way. We were going to live forever, like we would have lived forever on earth in communion. But now we broke that, like humans said, "No, I want to know both sides of the story. You're not telling me something, Lord." And instead of just trusting him, now we know. Now we faithoed. We effed around and we found out. And he's like, "Dude, I told you not to do that." And then that whole Old Testament up to Jesus Christ was basically people kept effing around and finding out, and there's fear. So now fear enters the story. So now that's where fear comes from. And so now what happens as soon as Adam and Eve do that, they're putting the leaves on them, because now they realize, like, they got scared, they got cold, and they were like, "Oh my gosh," and they realized they were naked. So they started putting leaves on themselves and, like, covering themselves up. And we have fear and embarrassment and all these things that we didn't have before. And so then Jesus, fast forward to, like, Jesus was, "Hey, you guys keep effing around so much, like, I need to show you the path." And back to what you're saying, Jor, which is basically, how do you live in the Garden of Eden? Like, how do we do this? But unfortunately, we're not going to get that back on earth. It's going to be, you're going to have to make that transition to heaven, which is the eternal paradise of basically the promise, the covenant that we broke in the Garden of Eden. And so that's the punishment, in essence, for, you're like, "Hey guys, like, that was dumb. That was really dumb. And now you're going to pay the price for that." And so we know that, because, like, so now we know the difference between good and evil. Now we know. So it's like and again, kind of like to what you're alluding to as well, like, we're made in God's image, and we also have the knowledge of God in the sense of good versus evil. Like, God knew that. God already knew good versus evil. He saw, the angels did, rebelled against them, So anyway, this is, I'll let you jump in here. I mean, this is like, you could talk for hours and hours and days about this, but it's fascinating.
Well, I'm just kind of curious again, because, like, from my perspective here, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But to me, have you ever thought of the fact that they've, when I say they, I mean the different versions of it, have written that at some point in, after you leave Earth here, you go to a different place. And do you ever feel like people live their whole life waiting for something different, instead of just kind of building it here themselves? And do you ever think that part of that too is like a control aspect, in the sense that if you don't behave like we tell you to, then you're not going to get to that ever? And so people kind of spend their whole life in fear of not wanting to do anything wrong here, so they can get to a better place there, but they don't realize that. I wouldn't say, I mean, I don't know, like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So it's something I thought a lot about as well, obviously, of like, could this be, like you said, trying to look at it from different angles, different lenses, right? Could it be a control mechanism from the top down type of thing? And that's where I think, well, maybe I'll just cut to the chase, I guess, at the end. So if everyone, the reason I don't think it is because if everyone treated each other, again, going back to what you said a minute ago, if everyone just followed those 2 commandments or the 10 commandments, like, type of thing, right? And those 2 specifically, then there would be no leaders. There wouldn't be anyone trying to govern anyone, right? Like, it would literally just, like, you wouldn't need money. You wouldn't need anything. You would just be living in communion with God. You'd be living in communion with each other. It would be utopia. It'd be back to the Garden of Eden or heaven, and so, like, you wouldn't need any of it. So, like, it zooms out completely. And that's where I always go back to, because it's like that chicken or the egg thing, or like you're kind of chasing your tail, in the sense of like, well, that would have to mean, like, if we are all living that way, so anyway, that's kind of where I go back to that. But it is something I do come back to still. And I think I've been guilty of this too in my life, of like, well, why aren't I just sitting around being a monk and praying the whole time, and like, waiting, whatever. So like, this is something I've thought about over time too. And I've, my spiritual director and like different people I've talked to, different priests I've talked to, and they're just like, well, it's not like that. Like, everyone's called to do different things, right? Like, God gives us all different gifts and all different things in life that we're good at, and all these talents, right? So the calling, like, some people are called to be a monk and pray, because that's the only thing that can defeat a lot of the different stuff that's happening. Literally, is prayer. But we're not all called to be monks, and it's like, if you had that calling, you would know, like, you would be like, no, I'm called to do this. I'm called to be in the convent, or I'm called to do this, that, and just whatever, and pray all day long, etc., etc. I'm called to be a priest. I'm called to be whatever. And so, like, you would know that. And so now we're in the church militant here, fighting it out with evil on earth all the time. And this is Lucifer's, or Satan's dominion. Like, he took this over, and that was like the rupture and all of that. And then Jesus coming back, which I didn't mention earlier, Jesus coming back is that bridge back to that new world. And so through him, that's the way back to, in communion with God, getting to heaven and stuff like that. And then to, like, what you're saying again, of people waiting around to do it. Yes, I believe there are. Like I said, I've been guilty of that. There've been moments in my life like, well, why am I doing anything? I should just be praying or whatever. And I think a lot of it's just misguidedness. And it goes back to the beginning question, which is, everyone has these different versions of the Bible. Everyone's been taught differently.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's just this is where, like, we talk about the chalice of easy money, or, drinking from that. As soon as you bite the apple, now life becomes very confusing, chaotic. And that's all of our challenge now, is you have to live through all that chaos. And that's part of what happened because of the Garden of Eden. And so now, and it doesn't seem fair, obviously. Like, there's like this element of like, well, that's not fair. Like, I didn't do that, and that wasn't me that did that. But as soon as you start spinning the thing around on yourself, then there was the other day, I just heard a really good, homily or sermon of again, judging other people. And it's like, well, you should be striking that person down, Lord, or you should be doing this and that. And he's like, well, I can. And like, if you want me to, I can. Just remember though, that there's someone out there that's saying the same thing about you. And the way you'll be judged is the way I'm going to judge you, or like, vice versa. So be very careful. And again, coming back to exactly what you're saying of like following the 2 commandments and doing this whole thing. And then maybe like what a lot of Bitcoiners might be thinking too, is the game theory, right? This is where humans, I think, we really get caught up in the game theory of things of, well, these people aren't going to be nice to me. Or these people aren't going to live by those 2 commandments, Brandon and George. So like, that sounds great, but so like you get into this game, and that's really what, Satan does best, is it causing this cognitive dissonance, this disillusionment, chaos, distraction, all these different things, fear being the big one. Fear is the devil's playground, as we know. So it's constantly fearing, maybe God did lie to me. Maybe he doesn't love me. Look at these terrible things that happen. Look at these 7,000 homes that burned down in the Palisades, all these things that happen. And it's all started from that one instant, and from that, us thinking we're smarter than God, basically. And so now we have to live through that process and come back, which you can. And then this is another thing, even zooming to the end too. Like, people always get like, well, that person's going to hell, this and that. It's like, we have no idea. Like, we have no idea who's there. Do I think most people are fine and going to heaven? Yeah, I do. But they're like, you have to choose that at the end, like in the final judgment. Like, you have to choose, do you want to be in communion with him? And God wants that. He wants you to be, but you have to choose that. Like, your soul has to choose that ultimately. So that's really the choice. Like, you could be a terrible person your entire life and ask for repentance. And if you truly mean it, and you truly want to be in communion with him, and and again, I'm not a full expert. I'm not this and that, but from all my studies over time, these are things like you mentioned, I've looked at all these things over time and just I'm very curious about these things and talking with priests over the years and stuff like that. But it could be anybody, you know, like, and now again, I'm a believer that there's heaven, there's hell, and there's purgatory. Like you're going to have to, you have to, cleanse yourself of. See you, Chris. We'll see you. Thanks, brother. Yeah, I will. Yep. Yeah, working on the bathroom here. One of our guys.
We're just having the deepest conversation of all time in a Monday morning here.
Hey, let's start the week with a bang. And then Chris is probably like, oh, Chris knows I'm crazy. So, yeah, so this is why I was saying, a side tangent a little bit. This is why I was saying 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we talked about this, the Father Ripperger episode with Sean Ryan. It was so wild. And it's the deepest, one of the deepest conversations I've ever seen, like probably the deepest. And it goes through a lot of these things, the choirs of angels, and like how, and Sean asked a lot of great questions of like a lot of what we're talking about right now. And so, getting back to this communion of being in that world. This is a question that I asked a lot though, that I ask is, why, why, what's the point of life? Like, why are we here? Why even be here, Lord? Like, but it's, like he created this, he created earth and he created us here because he loved us and he wanted us to be in community. It was this wonderful, and again, part of it too, admittedly, like we don't know, like I don't know. This is the mystery of faith, right? Like we just don't know. Like, and that's something we'll find out someday, obviously. But our soul has to. And that's why that right before Chris was saying this. That's where we have to want it. So going to purgatory, cleansing ourselves of this world. I'm in this world, but I'm not of this world. Like you have to cleanse yourself of the little stuff you go through. But at the end of the day, if you want to be in communion, if you're that good person, like you're a good-hearted person, and which everyone's made in God's image. This is possible for everyone. But if you have hardened your heart so much and you believe you are better than God, which again, I don't believe that most people end up like this. I do believe most people end up in heaven actually, because we are made in his image and he wants us. He's going to give us every chance. He will give us every chance to come back to him. He's our father. Like it's like anyone as a kid, you want them. Like this is a great example. Anytime you're thinking of God and like in us, all you have to do is look at parents and their children, right? Because that's exactly what it is. And there's so many of these like images and these like little, not analogies, but these examples of life of you sit there and like, oh my gosh, like this is how God is with me. Or like this is how God is with us. Like I keep, I punish my kid, but at the same time, like, they look at you the right way and it's like your heart just kind of like warms and you're like, okay, like, okay, you can have that piece of candy this time or, whatever it is. Like, God wants us to be with him. Like we want our kids to be with us. We'll give them all kinds of chances. They might do the dumbest things on earth. We've seen murderers, all these people, right? And their mom still stands by their side or, or whatever it is, right? That's the same thing. It's the same exact process that we go through with him. And so he's going to give us every chance. But if we really don't want it, or if a kid does like, F you parents, like I hate you, whatever, like what is the parent going to do? The parent's going to be like, okay, like I'm really heartbroken. I'm really sad, but I can't make you stay. I can't make you be with me. And so it's the same exact process. It's pretty incredible. Like I have chills even thinking about it, but that's it. So, wow.
Yeah, I think of like, I see a question here from Lebowski saying, so Bitcoin is knowledge or truth from God, metaphorically speaking. So curious to hear what you think about this, but like, I've been kind of looking into this a little bit, just in terms of like Jesus himself, and like Jesus, from my limited knowledge here, he basically, what he was doing was he was going against the state in a way, or like,
right,
going against the people who were in control at that time, which were very evil people, right? Like I think it was Herod the Great that was kind of right before Jesus's time, who like killed 40 of his wives, and just a horrible person. Like it just seemed to me like society at that point was like never worse.
Right.
That.
I think that's why he came at that time.
Right. And so he came, and what he was doing is that he was just focusing on those two things, like figuring out who you are, creating based on what's inside of you, and spreading it. And obviously like they got to the point where they just didn't want it spreading anymore. And they didn't just kill him. They didn't take him into a room and kill him and take him away. They made a public image of it.
Yep.
And so to me, like I see a lot of comparisons to like what's happening right now, where they're persecuting and making and maybe we haven't seen the worst of it yet, but making a stage of people who are going against that, who are going against truth, who are going against loving each other and loving thy neighbor. And to me, that's just, so I think that that's where Bitcoin fits into this equation for me.
Yes.
And not to say that the people talking about Bitcoin are anywhere near what Jesus was or wanted to do, but it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's going
Similar
against
concept.
the societal norms. And then, in fact, right, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like the people in the town of Nazareth, they actually went against Jesus first because he was just thinking so much differently than what they were used to.
For you can't be a Messiah. It's hard to be a Messiah in your own town, right? Like that's, Jesus even saying that, like it's even Jesus, even God, it's tough to be a Messiah in your own town. When humans are conditioned in such a way, and again, it just goes back to Satan, right? Like it's when you have the knowledge of both, you want to feel like you're in control. You want to feel like you're the one doing everything. I've talked to numerous people that have left the church just over the years too, and they're like, I just can't get over the fact that I'm not in control of my life. Like God has it all planned and designed for me. And it, it's a very real thing. And I really empathize with that. And this goes back to the 2 commandments, like this goes back to humbling yourself. What do we say in Bitcoin, right? Like you just alluded to, basically, like stay humble, stack sats. Like when humans keep getting in their own way, it generally turns out pretty poorly. And that's where like, God's like, hey, like he has, like we just said way earlier, he implants talents in you, what you're good at, what you're not so good at. And like, that's why life works, because like, we're all different. We're all made differently. And so going against those things, or like, it could be if, someone who's getting married to so-and-so or, whatever. And like, they're like, well, I don't believe. And it's like, it's not that you can't physically do that. It's just God's telling us this is the optimal way to live life and sustain life and have things work out be in communion with me, be as close as possible to me, make life easier, be more fulfilled. This is the way to do it. And then so people get in this habit of like, well, I did it and nothing happened. Like I ate the cheeseburger, didn't have a heart attack, it's like, okay, well, like, it's not saying you can't do it, or it's not saying I don't love you still. It's just when you get further and further away from truth, when you get your money becomes, it degrades more and more and more and more, the society just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And the harder the snap back towards truth eventually, like eventually you're going to get got. Like the timer runs out and society has an awakening, an enlightenment, a revolution, a civil war. Like you have these dumb things because we did things for so long, these piss poor ways, and then boom, it snaps back. And the further away you are, the harder the rubber band snaps back. And that's what we're living through. All these little fourth turnings and these revolution, all this stuff is just how far away from truth did we get? Like how ridiculous did we get? And so that's where, like, again, this nuance of life, the word for me the last couple of years has been nuance. It was 2 years ago, I went down with Luke Broyles. We drove from Michigan down to Nashville. The entire 8-hour trip on the way home, we talked about the word nuance. Literally the entire trip about the word nuance. And I've been talking about that last week at the conference, year and a half later, 2 conferences later, almost 2 years later. And talked about it this week with my brother and sister-in-law. Like, just humans are, I don't know why we'd have such a hard time with nuance. And it just really like wreaks havoc on us. But this is that I forget exactly what you were saying initially, Jor, but this is, it's the nuance. Yeah.
No, it was just what I was trying to say is like, kind of the way I think about it all is like the first principles aspect of things, right? And that's kind of where we started talking about today in terms of love God, love thy neighbor. That's kind of like first principles to me. That's what Jesus was trying to teach.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And what you're saying there though is like the further we get away from that, the worse we become.
Yes.
Right. Because people don't see each other as neighbors anymore. They see each other as left versus right, or Democrat versus Republican. They don't understand that we are all the same. We're all created the same, right? We all have unique talents. I think it's our job to kind of discover what that is and then best provide that to our society, right? And I think that where this all ties in with Bitcoin is like, if we had access to that, if nobody had the ability to change those words 2,000 years later, how much different would things be today?
100%. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's And again, yeah, you're right. That's where this all started initially too. And that's where my answer was, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of life, right? Where like, we're not perfect, obviously. So you're going to have like us getting further and further away potentially from the truth, the truth. I am the truth, the way, and the life, the Alpha, Omega. Like you're going to have that. I do believe that there's, some good versions out there still, just because we have, 2000 years of, history, and it's pretty, fairly checked out, and a lot of, just scholars of it. So it is wild. I mean, you look at, the Bible, or, the Catholic Church, and that's where, like, I'm Catholic, but obviously the Catholic Church has had its problems, and it's going to have more problems. Like this is, Peter was the first pope of the church, from Jesus, said, hey, here you go. There you go. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. And the guy denied Jesus 3 times. This is the problem that I have a lot of times with people that, like, they confuse the church, which is what Jesus instituted. Peter was the first pope, with how the humans act inside of it. Never going to be good, guys. Literally, I'm telling you right now, it's never going to be good. It's never going to be the way you want it. I've had problems with the last, pope or two. There's been multiple times where we've had 3 popes. People recognize 3 different popes. Jesus, picked the first guy, denied him 3 times. And so, like, it shows you right there that we are fallible people. We are, capable of evil. We're also capable of immense good, obviously. And this is the roller coaster you're going to be on. The church doesn't change, though, and is there going to be human error and all this stuff? Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's going to be a lot more dumb things we see. There's probably stuff right now at the Vatican that's not good. Actually, I know there is. I've talked to many priests. Like, I know the last 50, 70 years have not been good for the Catholic Church. And so it's not abandoning it. It's, hey, how do we do this better? Like, how do we clean things up? Like, we have Bitcoin. I'm not going to abandon Bitcoin. Like, I'm going to, hey, how do we make this better? Like, how do we make sure we're going the right way, the right direction? Because we're humans and we're going to F stuff up. And are there going to be some miracles in the process? Well, I think there are going to be with all these things, but there's going to be miracles that come, and only the things that help us if we are operating in truth. If we're operating, in first principles, we're operating in these ways, like these 2 commandments. Like, that's the way we're going to do it. It's not by fighting each other, like you said, red versus blue, all this different ridiculousness. Because then, like you said, there's all this stuff now for 2,000 years where we just keep separating ourselves instead of like getting closer together.
Yes. And
where Jesus was here, like you had we had ground zero was here, and now it's like, oh, I don't believe him. I'm doing this. Well, I'm going to do that. Well, I don't believe this version. Well, I'm doing that. It's like, okay, like so anyway, that's, again, it's the only religion that I know of that's, again, that God came here and said, hey, I'm this guy. I am this person. There's so many, again, we could talk for freaking weeks, Jor, about all of this, a million different angles about all of this. So this is not to adjudicate like Jesus versus all the other religions. But anyway, it's to your point though, too, like Bitcoin is very similar to all that for me. And you kind of just alluded to that and mentioned that. I believe that too. Like Bitcoin to me is the closest thing on earth to that truth, like a materialistic thing, maybe we'll say, like the materialistic. I mean, Jesus, the last couple of weeks, I've been talking a lot about the money changers, right? One of the 2 times that Jesus really got pissed off was the money changers, flipping the tables of the money changers and the people screwing with the money, and in the temple, making it a marketplace, screwing over the poor people. And then what happens is what Bitcoiners talk about all the time is that when you write the money, what happens? Then the temple healed after that. All the blind, the sick, the lame, they all started slowly, organically healing and coming back into the temple. And that's exactly what Bitcoiners talk about all the time. Hey, if you just change the money you're using, the fight I had with Mike Green the other day, right? Going back and forth. And it's like, he couldn't answer the question of, I agree, we need to educate people, Mike, but how do you incentivize a population in order to do the things you're saying to do? You have to reorient the architecture of the system to incentivize people to want to do what you're saying they need to do. They won't do it. They're not going to educate. They're just going to vote themselves new stuff in this system. Clearly, we're seeing that play out. But if you have a different system, a different undergirding, a different foundation of the monetary bedrock you use on top of that or underneath that system, now we can have different incentives. Now we can do what you're saying. And that's the healing. Okay, boom, got the money changers out. Now the blind, the sick, the lame, the meek, the humble, which is all of us, we start re-entering society naturally, and nature starts healing organically. And we, in my opinion, those things, just like, with Christ or Bitcoin, these things will not happen. So coming back all the way to the beginning, we got so far away from this truth. We're in that place now monetarily. we cannot, nor will we have good life until we come back to that truth and realize those 2 commandments, of money, the 2 commandments of treating other people, the only way forward. It is literally, love. That's the only way. Yeah. Period. End of story.
And really, it's so crazy because you could go down a million different paths with all this stuff. But like, if you just focus on those 2 things, like the world over time changes significantly. You mix those 2 things with a money that cannot be created by individuals with godlike power, because that's really what it is. When you have the ability to print money, you get to decide the whole direction of society. And I think that we have gotten so far away from that truth itself, and just overall that it's where it's led us here. But like, from my perspective, growing up, like I went to church, I never paid attention. I never listened to one thing that was going on. And it's funny because to me, I think that people just have this really incorrect perception of it all, because there's been so many things in the news and the churches and this, and they just kind of stray further and further away from it, because they're like, oh, they just kind of lump it all together.
Yeah. 100%.
They lump it all together.
Yep.
But the thing that really interested me, it was just hearing the story of Jesus and what he was like and what he was trying to do and how they treated him.
Yeah.
Because it just reminds me of so much of what's going on right now.
100%. If anyone, that's why like that podcast with Father Rippinger was unbelievable. Mel Gibson, The Passion of the Christ. No one's ever seen that. It's 2 hours long. It's all in Aramaic or, Hebrew, whatever. Very just gruesome, obviously. Literally just goes through the entire, Jesus basically Thursday night, to Sunday. Not Thursday night. It's Thursday night to what? Like Friday night or whatever. Then it shows him, it pans away, like right when he's like the resurrection, which I heard I didn't know still recently, he's working on the resurrection, a new movie. So the follow-up, the resurrection as Jesus coming back. So wild. But
what's that for?
So Mel Gibson's working on.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Isn't it a 2-part thing?
I believe so. I think I just saw this like a couple weeks ago, because obviously Easter happened, and then my wife and I, we try to watch The Passion of the Christ, every single Easter, or like, Thursday or Friday, like Good Friday or Holy Thursday. So yeah, I mean, you see that, and like, I mean, I literally cry every single time I'm watching it. It's like, how you could do that to someone just in general is beyond me. Like, even if it was like a literal murder and he killed a million people, like, I still wouldn't be able to do what those people were doing and just sitting there laughing and doing it. I mean, like you said earlier, the amount of depravity and like evil, obviously a different time. They saw a lot more evil. It just goes
to show you though, like that's how, and it just reminds me so much of where we are today. Mm-hmm. In terms of like, if you do something that's outside of the societal like norm, right? Because that's why they did that to him, because he was talking about things that were so different than that was their normal.
Yes.
That's all that it was, right? And to me, for the much better compared to where they were before.
Right.
And what he was trying to teach.
Yep.
And yeah, it is. I'm
they
right
wanted
there
to be
with
gods. They wanted to be gods, like, again, a lot of what he did was like you said, it was very different. And, he was saying he was God. They were wanting to be gods, right? So like you said, the high priest, the Sanhedrin, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Romans, they wanted to be, they thought they were gods. They wanted to be gods. And which, like you said, we have now, we have eugenics, we have this crew, the Malthusian, we have all these people right now that the Freemasons, like, they think they're gods. They think they think they are literal gods. They think they are called. We're all useless eaters, and they need to call things and make things right. And so we, like you said, we're living the same exact stuff. Does it play out in the same way? Of course not. And so it plays out in all these different ways. It plays out through abortion. It plays out through MAID up in Canada, right? It plays out in all these just sick and grotesque ways that are really more sinister now, because at that time, you at least had to like physically do all these things. It was like in plain view, a lot of it, where now it's just like evil is so sinister because it's in the dark recesses of society almost. Like, it's, a lot of us don't even ever see it. Like, we literally never see any of it almost, right? So, or I shouldn't say it like that, but like we don't see 95% of what happens actually. It's out in, sex trafficking somewhere. It's, child sacrifice here. It's, exactly. So it's honestly so sinister that and Father Rippinger said too, he said this time is worse than any other time because the level it's at and the amount that's going on. So like Jesus' time, it was maybe the worst just in one respect, right? But now it's worse in different other respects. So anyway, not to power rank, what's the worst time period of life, but yeah, it's just, it's wild, Jordan. And that's where, like you said, Jesus coming and saying, hey, this is a radically different way of seeing things, which ironically was like you said, the 2 commandments would just like love each other. I mean, that was the genesis of all of it. And that's where anytime, like, because again, I'm someone who was raised in this, and my faith has only been strengthened in the last 5 or 10 years to levels that I didn't even know were possible. But I still think about it. And like, again, like a Bitcoiner, like you're a discerning human being, you're trying to like, fact check yourself. You're trying to like, okay, level up. Mm-hmm. And you think about this a lot, and you're just like, okay, well, what if this happened? Or like, maybe, Jesus here and there. And you're like, okay, but every time you come back to it, you're like, yeah, but the only things he was saying was just like, love yourself, or like, love your neighbor. That's it. And you're like, dang, okay, like back to square one. You're like, it's like, maybe it was like a global conspiracy, or maybe he was this and that. And you're like, well, yeah, but all he was saying was like, just love other human beings. It's like, damn it. Like, you're right.
And that's why it's like so
trying
crazy
to like fact check him.
That's why the whole thing's so crazy to me, is because I just had this perception of what religion was and what all this stuff was for the
human
5 years of my life.
Yeah, for sure.
You just go back to that. It's like, and you were kind of talking about the fact that these people, like the couple of examples you gave there, think that they're God. I kind of agree with you in the sense, but I also think that the way that they just approach things in terms of like seeing other people as less than them, that breaks that rule right there. Right? That breaks the rule of like being created equal and loving thy neighbor. Because if 100%. You just saw everybody as an image of God and that everybody's equal, then you would never have that desire to think of yourself higher than somebody else.
Sorry, I didn't mean they thought they were God. They thought they were gods, like plural. Like they thought they were Greek gods, or So like they think they don't believe in God. Like Freemasonry is a great example. Like you use Catholicism basically hundreds of years ago. They use that to basically try to entice a lot of people, in essence, in order to come, be in their group, their clique, or whatever. Like they use like Catholicism and Christianity as like like it. And there's a lot of things they talk about, like that's kind of the outward appearance, and they'll like kind of talk about that. But once you get into it, it ain't that. Like, let's just say that it ain't nothing close to that. So they literally think they're, Apollo and Nike. Like they think they're like, gods of the universe, like Baal, Moloch, which are like the different, angels, fallen angels and stuff like that. That's what they worship, basically. A lot of these people worship it. So hopefully this stream stays up, because we talked about a lot of stuff today, Jor, that I know people aren't going to like. Let's just say that. But, they believe they are literally like gods in that sense, or like the angels, the fallen angels. So it's not like, oh, I'm God, I'm benign. Like, no. It's the opposite of that. So,
I mean, if the worst thing that happens to us is the stream gets taken down, it's still a lot better than what happened to Jesus, right? So, yeah,
ain't that the truth? Amen to that. My goodness. Yeah,
but Passion of the Christ, man. It really, again, like from my perspective, it really reminds me of that. Is just a guy that was trying to spread love, to spread a different meaning, to remind people how powerful they really were. Because I really believe that that's one of the biggest lies that's been misconstrued through the years, is like people thinking that they're less than something else, and not really understanding how powerful that they really are.
Yes,
and how incredible human beings really are. You talked about the six what?
Yeah, the higher faculties. Yeah,
right. Yep. And people, nobody's taught that.
No,
people are from the very beginning of their life, they're meant to feel less.
Yep. And to me, that's all Fiat and the devil. I mean, that's where like I would joke about like the water boy all the time. Like Mama said everything was the devil, and I was like, oh, she was right. Oh my gosh, like that's wild. But again, she was made to be like funny. It was like comedic, kind of desensitize you to like, oh, look at like that crazy old lady. As a kid, teenagers and 20 somethings watching those movies, and it kind of makes you like shun it, and like, oh, okay, like that's ridiculous. Like that's, and then you realize like, oh my gosh, like that was purposeful. Like that was literally, a lot of these things they're hiding in plain sight. And so back to what you are saying of like not using these higher faculties. And again, if you read the Bible, like you'll see a lot of these things kind of talked about. They don't say like, oh, use your higher faculties necessarily, right? God doesn't, Jesus doesn't speak like that. But if you read between the lines, that's what he is saying a lot of the time, right? Like he's saying, you're made in my image. What does God have? Like, you can go down line by line, all these things he says. And you're like, oh my gosh, this goes back to using 10% of your brain, like all this stuff. And we have been put in this suitcase.
It was on purpose.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The devil knows. I mean, the devil's an angel. I mean, like that's where people think it's just wild. Like people, we talked about it a lot this weekend too, like different houses we've seen over the years that were haunted, or like different, ghosts that we've seen or people have seen, and just stuff like that. And the most sinister part about all of it is most people don't believe that it's even real. And that's what the devil loves. The devil loves that you don't think he's real. They love that you don't think there's, evil spirits, all around, which everyone is a guardian angel. There's good spirits all around too, but it's a constant war. So on earth, we're the church militant. So once you get to heaven, you win the game, like the game's over for you in essence, basically. But here on earth, we are fighting. It's a spiritual war, a spiritual warfare. And the angels are fighting all 24/7 all the time. And the spirits are all around. And that's where you go into like Freemasonry, like a bunch of these different, like where they think they're gods, and they will tap into this stuff. And that's where Father Rippinger, these are things, again, a lot of Bitcoiners, we've kind of seen these things, read about them, heard about them over the years. And then you watch an exorcist and you sit there for 4 hours and watch it, or go watch other exorcists. And you're like, oh my goodness gracious. And he talks about that, like literally blood oath, like writing a contract with your own blood. No joke. Like he's like, I've seen it before. I've heard it. The spirit, told me, or there's other ways to make oaths, with Satan. There's just, verbal ones you can make, literal physical ones, like all this stuff. So people like just dismiss this, which is what the devil wants generally. And they just dismiss all these things. And like, you're like, again, lack of knowledge, getting so far away from the Bible, so far away from truth, not understanding how you were made, not understanding any of this stuff. And you just walking around with your, with your Walkman on, your Bose headphones, noise canceling. You're just oblivious to life. And this was me, for a long time. And just in the last 5 years, I've really leveled up. At 35 years old, it was like, okay, there's something going on here. I really got to go down the rabbit holes of some of these things. So this is not someone who grew up in the church, and like you said, the church itself, that's why I said the Catholic Church hasn't done itself any favors. Like the Vatican II, like being bastardized, a lot of the things over the last, which was very political. Things were taken over politically. A lot of, coming, of course, evil's going to try to attack the church. Like it's duh. So it's like you get your people in power. Yeah, it's like you get people in power, and guess what? You can start steering how people are being taught or whatever, which is coming back to, again, the beginning of what you're saying. But again, you get farther away from truth. The Catholic Church has had this for 2,000 years, had a lot of problems all throughout history. Then they snap back. Then they have problems. Then they snap back. It's a story of life. It's a story of humanity. We've had 3 popes multiple times, or 2 popes that were recognized. People are fighting, warring, killing each other. This is not new. It's going to keep happening, but it's all of us. It's up to us to help each other, obviously, try to snap back and not get so far away from the truth and be like, whoa, like, what are we doing? Like, we can be... we're made in God's image, for crying out loud. We can use 100% of our brain. Let's do that instead of using it on needless, worthless stuff all the time. So anyway, that's.
Oh man, I just had freaking something I was going to ask you there. Shit.
See, we were talking about.
Okay, this is what it was, Brandon. This is what it was. So again, kind of thinking through this stuff. I see a lot of great comments in here and questions and things like that. But with this, like, the further I get into it, I see, okay, this was a pretty big deal. Again, I feel like I've been lied to. I know that. I know that I've been lied to about literally everything in my entire life, right? Yeah. But like, I think that this was such a big event. Like Jesus himself was such a big event that we literally changed the way that we measure years. Like, right?
Right.
BC AD. Like it was a pretty big thing. No matter what people think about the religion or this or that, like that objectively happened, where we switched the way we measure time, I guess, going forward, right?
Yep.
And I really think that Bitcoin has the same ability, but that's the other part too, is like they didn't change the calendars or the way we measure time. That when Jesus was there, it was probably looking back and saying, okay, this was a pretty substantial thing that happened here, right? We should probably clarify this in history, so that they can't change it in the future and erase this essentially.
Yeah.
So like the big part of it hasn't changed. The message has changed a lot through those years. And so I really think that in like 100 years from now, I think we're going to look back on this time in history and start measuring things differently in a sense of what we can verify before January 3rd, 2009 and what we can verify after. And I really don't know what we can actually verify before this. There will be exceptions to that. But like, I just think this is such a big deal as well. Obviously going back to that, but I don't know. I really think that if we had the ability to take the words and the teachings from that time and carry it forward for 2,000 years without anybody changing it, I just think that the world would be a completely different place today. And so when you look out 2,000 years from now that we do have the ability to record things that nobody can destroy, nobody can burn, nobody can alter, I think that has very lasting impact into the future that we can't even really comprehend right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. And that's where, like, again, I'm trying to study up on that more too, of like, yeah, maybe it's Bitcoin. Maybe there's ways of compressing the data and doing things where it is so minimal going forward that, right? Like, and that's maybe the stuff that's coming that we just don't know, where it can eventually be all inside, the time chain. And we're going to figure that out. And maybe we probably will, And so, I agree 100%. And that's where, like, again, going back to Jesus, where it's, there's no media, there's no nothing, and the guy's still here, the most famous person on earth. That's like the signal and all the noise, right? Like, and that's where us humans, because we're so smart, because we know good and evil, and we are made in his image, we overcomplicate things, right? Like it just goes back to Bitcoin. Like, stop trying to overcomplicate it. This is very simple. Jesus was here. He said what he said. I am what I am. And he's the most famous guy 2,000 years later, bar none, right? Like, it's very simple. I mean, these things are not complicated. They're not meant to be complicated. I don't think Jesus, Jesus knows who we are. He knows we can overcomplicate things, right? Like, it's meant to be very simple. Bitcoin it as well could be a gift, from God. It could be a miracle. Like, it could be a thing that I've thought about over time too, of like, okay, like, he came down in Sodom and Gomorrah. He came down, he destroyed, the flood and this and that. Like, he was like, okay, I've had enough. Like, you guys are just gotten way out of hand. Maybe Bitcoin is one of those things. And that's why people are like, well, it's not spiritual and this and that. I'm like, oh boy, like, it's very spiritual. I mean, like, it could be, how do these things all line up so perfectly? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not saying that it is, but you can't just say, oh, it's not, and so it could be the new thing, a miracle that was given to us that, like you said, 100, 500 years from now, people look back and say, yeah, that was from God. That was, whatever. So anyway, it's such a fascinating talk, Jordan. I do wish that we would all talk more about this kind of stuff. And I think it's incumbent on Bitcoiners to be leveling up these conversations like this going forward, because that attracts more people. Because you're never going to get everyone talking about ETFs in Wall Street. The last couple of years have been a waste of time, in the sense of we've lost a lot of traction in the community, and people have gone to other things. They've gone on to AI, they've gone on to other stuff. The average person, because they're like, like, whatever. There's nothing there. Like, it just is what it is. And these are the conversations that are going to draw everyone back going forward into time. Price is going to go up, of course it will, but this kind of stuff is what gets people and also keeps people long term and reorient society.
Yeah, and for those people listening, like, definitely not what I'm trying to say here is that Satoshi is comparable to Jesus. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm saying that we now have a tool, wherever it came from, whoever it came from, we now have a tool to record history, and nobody has the ability to alter that. And so what Crypto Tony said, this is exactly like the main premise of what I'm trying to say here. Imagine the Bible getting put on the blockchain where it can be never messed with again. Like, imagine if we had the actual original Bible, because again, what we've been talking about the whole time, it's been changed so many times, so many different interpretations of it, because as it was written, there's probably 2 or 3 different or more ways you can interpret everything that he says. And that's what other people have been teaching through the years. Right. But if we had the actual words from Jesus himself, and we could carry that forward into the future forever, then nobody has the ability to dispute, did he say this? Did he say this? You could always dispute what he meant by it. But like, the actual word itself could not be changed. That would be very, very powerful, I think, for the direction of our future.
See, I agree with you, Jor. I'll push back on you, because I believe what you said already is the most important thing, which is the 2 commandments.
Yeah.
because Jesus, like we almost don't need the whole Bible. We don't need the rest of it in a way, just because, just because we already have those two things, just like the Bitcoin white paper. Look at, you still have BSVers, you still have all these other people. Look, we have the exact words and still people are fighting over what it actually means. So that's where I think that the human aspect actually is almost more important in a way of like us playing telephone and reorienting society like as it goes in a way, but like knowing that, hey, this was the premise. Like, again, Occam's razor, like the simplest answer is almost always the right answer type of thing. Of like I still think we need ways to document things and preserve them for as long as we can, or forever. But at the same time, we're still going to have people fighting over the actual words, just like we do now in a way. Whatever the Bible says now, right? Like we still have people fighting over what they mean, and they do have a million meanings. Each line. I mean, it's so funny. Like I've gone through so many different verses of the Bible, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like at this time in life it meant this, and then in other times in life you're like, whoa, it's like a different angle almost. You see it applies this way. Like every line has a trillion different meanings for every single person at the time in their life. So that's where it's. Like I agree with two things can be true. Like I agree with you in one sense, and I also push back at the same time, I guess. But
no, that's good. That's what we're here for.
So
that's exactly what I'm here for.
Like
I'm wanting to learn. I have a completely open mind about things right now with it.
I hope and pray that more conversations are had like this going forward. And unfortunately, I think, fortunately, I think they will, but unfortunately, I think it's because there are going to be more hard times ahead that will force people on their hands and knees to have these conversations, which is what we're trying to stave off. That's why we're here. We're trying to talk about it now, so we don't have to get those hard times. We don't go so far away from truth. We don't snap back harder. We just let's snap back now, less hard than a year from now, 10 years, 20 years.
Just imagine. I mean, imagine how different society would be day to day if everybody just followed those two things. As I wouldn't say one's more important than the other, but just like treating people like I would say even if you combine those two things, it's like the whole message there is just to be kind.
Yep.
Right. Just be kind to each other. And could you imagine how different things would be if that were the case? I just feel like we've strayed so far away from that. I agree with you. I think that Fiat is a major proponent of that, because Fiat basically doesn't allow you to see eye to eye because you're constantly fighting for something. You're fighting for it's zero sum, it's dog eat dog, it's constantly wanting something that you can't get. And I mean, so I think that going back to those two things, I think that really tied together to me, and it's kind of given me a good foundation to build on top of, right? So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yep. No, agreed. It's such a enlightening talk. It's such a great talk to have, and none of us know the answers, and that's the beautiful part. That's the mystery of faith. That's the mystery of all this. So we don't know the answers. We're trying, but I think that's the thing. That's the thing I've always had the most problem with is none of us are going to know the answers. But I've always had such an issue. The thing I have the most issue with is that seemingly so many people are asleep and they don't even care to look, right? They're not asking why. They're not digging deeper.
I've been there before. I've been there.
I know. And that's the thing that I have the hardest problem with. And I know I've had moments in my life where it's, like that. And I'm not saying like, 24 hours a day, you need to just be like, oh, whatever. But just to have like but again, that's part of life though too, right? Like, again, this is why there was only 12 disciples. There wasn't 2,000. There wasn't, whatever. And I think that's, so again, it admitting to myself that like, that's the thing I have the most problem and probably talk to God about the most, I would say, especially over the years of, why are there so many people asleep, Lord? Like, why did you give me this knowledge? Why did you lead me down this path? Why do you, why am I talking about Bitcoin? Why am I talking about Christ? So much of my life, like why am I called to do it? But like seemingly there's very few other people that are called to do it and they're just out there doing whatever. And that's the thing that I prayed a lot about, I thought a lot about. And like, why is there this chasm? Like, why is there such a difference? And like, there's a fire in me that like, I want to know these things. I want to keep learning because I don't know everything. But then you look around, you're like, how come no one else seemingly is asking any questions at all? And you feel very lost at times. You're like, well, and what's the point? Why am I not, like I said in the beginning, like, why am I not just praying all day? Like, why am I even part of the society? I'm not of this world. And so these are, again, not to be a therapy session for myself. These are things that I really,
think about your higher faculties though. Like I think the higher faculties that you talked about there are the reason why people are asleep. Because again, when you consider these things in the sense of like you become your environment, and when your environment that you grow up
Yep,
in
there you go.
is so far away from that, you don't really have the ability to do that. You don't really have a
Yep.
choice.
There's no
Right?
flag in
Like
the
a
ground. So
4,
yeah,
5,
yeah.
6-year-old, your life is based on who's around you, your mom and your dad and your kids at school and whoever else. And I just think that
Brilliant point.
society overall has shifted so far away from this that that's where people are. That's the environment that people grow up in. And so
Mhm.
that's who they are. So it's like the image of that and using these higher faculties have actually been used against Jesus.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the
I'm
environments that
God. I know
that
more.
we're
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the environments that we're creating and the ability
Uh-huh.
to kind of take that information in and put it into our subconscious is all wrong. Not in the sense it's like right and wrong, but like different than what he was teaching, I should say.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a brilliant point. Brilliant point. I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of those things I kind of come back to eventually, and where I'm like, okay, or I talked to my spiritual director, and he's said stuff like that. So yeah, brilliant point. Brilliant point. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Now you just made me think of something, but it was, oh man, what was it? Yeah, it's such a it's just it's a mind f. But it's that's just part of life. I mean, we're all made in, like you said, in these different ways, and then we all have different experiences growing up, and that's just part of the game. And I was going to go back to earlier the of the God. I've had many people talks with people saying that they can't believe that their life is like laid out for them, basically. And it's not, like God might know what's going to happen, and certain things might happen, obviously, but you have free will. And so, but and this is where so the whole point of this is like to stay humble, stack sats, right? This is where it goes into Bitcoin as well, in humbling yourself before God, kneeling and praying or whatever. It's all humility. Do your children see you humbling yourself, or does earth revolve around you? And going back to everything you've been talking about, we started this conversation with the two things: love. I am not the biggest person in the world, and even though we might get in those modes at times, right? We're all humans. We all think we're a god at a certain moment in our lives or whatever. We're invincible. Can you humble yourself? Can you understand that there might be something out there bigger than you? There might be someone that found something before you did. You're not accepting Bitcoin because someone found it before you. There's ego, there's pride, there's all the deadly sins that are inside of us, potentially inside of us, that we can get caught up in. And it doesn't allow us to humble ourselves and say, because if you can't humble yourself, there's not love involved, then guess what? You're never going to get those two commandments. You won't do it. And that's this problem. That's this yin and yang, this problem that humans have that we're constantly fighting. And that pride, ego, humility quotient that we're just like constantly bouncing back and forth on, getting on our knees. And that's that humility. Like, when are people praying the most generally? When there's massive trauma in their life or something like that. And it's like, well, I wish it didn't have to get to that for a lot of us, but that we're all human. And like, that's generally when it happens, so it's like, again, there's signal there. There's some signal in that noise.
Well, what a
Wild,
chat.
man.
What a way to start
What
the
a
week.
chat. Yeah.
I think,
Wild.
I don't know if you're good with it. Like, I think we should kind of keep having these conversations.
Absolutely. 100%.
Mostly because I'm curious and I'm trying to learn and I'm trying to
Same.
figure out what the heck's, not what's going on, but just like really anchor back to that, like where we started the conversation today. And I think the only way to make real lasting change is through repetition.
100%.
And so
100%.
I think that kind of starting the week with this, it almost sets the tone in a very positive way too. We can have conversations, we could have discussions how this relates to Bitcoin, but really it all kind of ties back to that, the first two things there: love God, love thy neighbor. What does that mean?
Yep.
And how can we kind of live that throughout the week? And I just
100%.
think that if we can do that, and even if it's just a little conversation every week, I think that it actually could have a significant impact on me, you, and the people
100%.
listening to this.
Couldn't agree more, Jor. Could not agree more.
Hey, so for people who are also kind of interested in this stuff, I see a couple of questions here. The Ethiopian version of it, from what I've seen, has parts that the King James Bible doesn't have in it. Well, where do you recommend people start? Like, if they were at zero, which version or what do you usually tell?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, like I said earlier, I'm Catholic. I don't, again, Catholics aren't very good in the sense of like, we don't memorize the Bible. We don't generally do stuff like that. Now I know some Bible verses, but we don't do that. And I don't even know it's imprimat. Oh man. I'm trying to think because you're right. Like the King James version is obviously the version that a lot of people use, super standard out there, but it's missing. I don't know how many books it's missing. Is it 3? I don't remember 6. I can't remember how many books it's missing, but I would never touch the King James Bible. It's the imprimatur. I forget what it is. It's like a Latin word, which is like the Catholic Bible, like, Catholic Bibles, it doesn't have that. Like, I don't have anything that doesn't say like the imprimatur something in the front cover of the back of the front cover. I can't remember what it is, but moral of the whole story though is yes, I would try to do some research. I mean, go on AI, go hit 6 different AIs, ask the same question to all of them, copy and paste into all of them, and like aggregate the truth in the sense of give me the Bibles that have all the books in them, like whatever, and then see what they all say. I'll probably even do that too. I'll just go fact check myself and just go do that and then say, boom. And then once you find that, say, okay, these are the ones that I'm going to, whatever. I would just go do that and start from there. Like I'm going to do that later today, actually, just to fact check myself and recenter myself even. So
that's kind of what the short video that I was watching, that's what the guy did. I think it was something like a crazy amount of text that he put into this AI. And it basically came out to the conclusion that like 95% of the Bible as it was written has kind of been changed or it could be interpreted in different ways, I guess. I think that's what it was. Like 95% of it.
Let me see.
And so I do remember seeing that like the Ethiopian version of it had a lot of parts missing parts that were missing from the King James version of it. Oh,
for sure. I mean, that does not surprise me.
So Kev says that nothing taken out, nothing added in the Ethiopian version.
Yep. Let me see. I'm trying to get this really quick. And then I got to go in 2 seconds. I actually have to.
Yeah, no problem. Lebowski says, I think you answered my questions. You both see the Christian ethic as not being in conflict with Bitcoin. No, it's definitely not in conflict with it at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. I would say it's probably one of the most in unison things I've seen, basically, from humanity's sake, I guess we'll say.
I agree.
Right? Like that, I look at the spiritual side is the Bible in essence, in Christ, and then the best worldly thing or material worldly thing, secular thing, I don't know what you want to call it, one of those words is Bitcoin. Like those are the two most compatible things, for truth.
I agree.
In essence.
That's kind of what led me to where, what I'm looking at right now. Like I've been down the Bitcoin rabbit holes. I've kind of explored that not as much as I could. I think that there's a ton to go, but right now this aspect of it is the most interesting to me. And I think that it's the most worth my time to go down.
100%. And I think we need to keep talking about this way more.
Cool.
Way more. Nil obstat imprimatur. That's like the Latin phrase, which means let it be printed and nothing hinders, in like Latin, I guess. So anyway.
In reference to what?
Just the Bible. So like having it printed on the inside of the Bible. It's like, that's the Bibles that I have. So if it doesn't have that, like King James does not have that.
Gotcha.
It can't have it because it's hindering. King James was hindering the Bible. So anyway.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll let you drop off here.
Someone will keep researching
for about 10 or so minutes, but we'll let you go. You got a busy Monday. You're trying to get back to her here.
Appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, I just want to say a couple shout outs. We talked about Josh, Moravian, Conrad, but Maria's over in Zapstream. She zapped 5,000 units of freedom, and Mark zapped 1,650. Said stuck in the meetings. We'll watch the replay. So every Monday, I'm going to be splitting the zaps that Brandon that I receive with Brandon. So if you're enjoying it, you got a QR code up here. You can go over to Zapstream, or it's just jor@rizful.com, and Brandon and I are going to be splitting the support for the Mondays. So any last words, Brandon? Final thoughts?
Hey, we're all on this journey together. I'm just trying to share what I've learned and experienced over my 39 years. I have literally by no means an expert in any of this stuff. It's just so fun to be able to talk about it, and we need to do it way more. I mean, we have to. And like I said, I'm going to go down and, it's funny. Like this is what I think AI is great for, is checking things, right? Cross-referencing, trying to get to, helping get to the truth in that sense, right? Not that we're ever going to find the full truth on any of these things, but, I'm going to go do that later too, and just go dive deeper into some of this stuff. And because I think about this a lot. This whole talk today is something I've clearly have thought a lot about, and you hit me on the right time, George. So you always have great themes for our Mondays here. So, and we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it, and we're all going to learn together. So
yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. That's how I learned Bitcoin. Is I just kind of said when I started my channel, is like, we're on a journey. We're all going through it together. And I think the main takeaway from right, this show today and kind of what we want to carry into the future is like, just look at everybody as equal. Look at everybody as you, and love thy neighbor. Be kind to each other.
Yep. All different
okay,
goals,
Brandon,
aspirations, dreams, and
thanks
talents.
for being on here today, buddy. We'll chat
Appreciate
with
you guys.
soon.
Sounds good.
Okay.
See you, brother.
See you, buddy. Okay. So big shout out to Brandon once again, obviously, for being on here for another Monday morning. Some great questions in the chat. I really wish, I don't know what the best way to do it is, because I really like having a conversation with Brandon, and I don't like to be kind of distracted and not listening to what he's saying. So it's kind of difficult for me. I'm checking on the chat here throughout. And as kind of what we did there is, if there's any comments that kind of come up that are very relevant to what we're talking about in that moment, I think we'll bring it up. But I don't know, man. I'm very fascinated with this kind of stuff right now. And Brandon kind of talked about the fact that people usually find this when they're at their worst almost, or rock bottom. And for me anyways, that was kind of cool. A crow just kind of floated right by here. But for me anyways, it's actually it's not that at all. I think that I don't know if I've ever been in a better place. Well, I guess you could say it's impossible, I think, to be in balance, perfect balance in your life. That's what everybody's kind of searching for, is perfect harmony in their life, in terms of their finances are good, their family is good, their friendships are good, their health is good. I would say that anybody who tells you that they found that is full of shit. I think that that's the hardest thing to find in life, is like kind of a harmony between, because that's the thing, is like, we only have so many days in our life. We only have so many hours in each day. We only have so much energy each day. Energy is very finite. What we can give our energy to each day, whatever you put your energy towards, that's what usually grows in your life, good or bad. It could be either way, right? Like if you're spending your energy doing bad things or wasteful things, you're just going to keep strengthening that. And so if you're somebody who's kind of focused on growing your business, you're probably going to have to put aside some family and some friendships and some health in a lot of cases. So you can't really be great at everything. I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say here, is like, you can, where I am right now is very good, I think, overall. The best I've ever been overall, probably. Am I lacking in certain parts of life? Yes. Because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be strong at other parts. You know what I mean? So in other words, I'm trying to tell you that I'm going down this road right now, not because I've hit rock bottom, where a lot of people kind of seek this stuff out, but because of Bitcoin, because of the conversations I've had with people, because of trying to find truth and where that's led me to. And it led me to a certain podcast, which led me to a different one. And now I'm kind of just fascinated by it all. So I think that Bitcoin itself, there's many different rabbit holes you can go down. You can go down the coding aspect of it. You can go down the economics of it, the monetary aspect, the spirituality side of things. And I don't even necessarily think that it's that. I think it's really first principles and going back to those first principles. And that's the thing for me, is like, after the minimal amount of work I've done in this so far, is kind of my main takeaway is like, Jesus was a fucking badass. Like that's what I get from it. And as Brandon said, he's the most important person in history. Why? He's been slandered, he was crucified, and he's been kind of lied about for my entire existence, my entire life. But when I get back to the actual story of Jesus himself, he was a badass, man. Like he was a badass. He was going against what people were talking about, how society was. And it really reminds me of where we are right now. And I ask myself all the time, it's like, how could somebody hate Bitcoin? What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin anchors the physical world to the digital world and gives us a true and honest ledger that nobody has the ability to change. Nobody has the ability to manipulate. Nobody has the ability to steal. Going back to what Brandon was saying about the 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal. Fiat is stealing. It steals every second of every day of your life. Every dollar that's printed is stealing from you. So it violates that. It violates nature in a lot of ways. Bitcoin perfectly aligns with nature. And so Bitcoin really, it blows my mind how many people could be so against Bitcoin. But when I hear and when I read the story of Jesus, it was kind of the same thing. Like what he was teaching, if you look at him as a teacher, what he was teaching was so different than the world as it was. And it was scary to people, so scary to the degree in which they tried to kill him. They tried to throw him off a cliff, I believe, because what he was teaching was so different than what they knew. And where are we right now? Why do people hate Bitcoin so much? Because it's a network, it's a system, and it's an idea that's so different than what we've grown up in. And even further, they got to the point where they weren't just going to get rid of him. They were actually going to make a scene of him to make sure that nobody tries this again. Nobody tries going against us again. Nobody tries straying too far away from the path again. Nobody tries pushing again. What was he pushing? What was he trying to teach? Be kind. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine being tortured like that for just teaching people to be kind to one another, to looking at each other as if we are all created equal? We're all the same. And look how far away we've got from that with politics, with this fake idea of racism. Like the more they talk about racism, the more it's on people's minds, the more it's ingrained into our life, where now people grow up and they see black versus white when that's not how it should be. If you looked at it through the first principles here, is that you love thy neighbor no matter what. It doesn't matter if they're a Democrat and you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you're white and they're black. None of that matters. And if you just kind of anchor back to that, you don't have the ability to maybe have the impact that Jesus had, but you have the ability in your own life, your own version of life. You get to decide how you treat people. And usually how you treat people comes back to you. So it's very interesting to me. I'm going to keep exploring this. I think that doing this every Monday is perfect for to start the week. And again, I never would have imagined doing this even 2 years ago. Never. Never in a million years would you have ever caught me talking about this stuff. And I think that's the most important lesson from today. Is not that you can change, not that you want to keep an open mind, but the lesson in that to me is just how much I was lied to and how much of a negative stigma there is around these kind of conversations when there doesn't need to be. Again, you can go down all these different paths, all these different versions. You can try to pick out what you want from it. But really what it boils down to is the first principle aspect of things, which is be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to everybody that you come in contact with. And why would anybody ever be ashamed to talk about that? Which gives me even more of a fire inside to talk about it more. And again, we're not going to be talking about which you should follow, which one makes the most sense, who's most important. We're just going to kind of anchor it back to those principles there, because with those principles, you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. So anyways, I wanted to just stick around for a couple minutes after because as Sats and Sunsets has seen in the last couple weeks here, is that if I don't do it during the show, then I don't do it. And so I figured we would just do it during the show. So I want to give some props here. But again, the reason why I'm talking about this is because number one, I'm fascinated by it. Number two, I'm pissed off that I was lied to my entire life about everything. And number three, I think that the audience here want to hear it too, want to talk about it, want to share their opinion on it. Like it's the crowd for it. And you would not believe how many conversations I've had with people over these last couple of years where they bring this up. Everybody's got kind of a different idea of like why Bitcoin is spiritual, why it relates to religion so much. But there is no doubt that there's a lot of people who kind of feel the same way. So I just want to talk about it, right? Like I don't think there could ever be any harm in that. So we had Ginger with the biggest one of the day, the MOB, 16,388. We had Letha. I didn't say this. She had a guitar 3 hours ago. What time was that at? 8. She sent 5,000 units of freedom with a guitar. That's a new one, Letha. I don't know what that's about, but thank you. And I missed this one too. This is from our guy, Praetorian, the Guardian himself. He said, "Good morning, all you kind and wonderful Bitcoin compatriots. God bless you. God bless you all. Kind regards, Praetorian." How could you sum up a better recap of what we talked about today than that? God bless you all. Kind regards. That's what the theme's been today. Be kind. Be kind and love thy neighbor. Who is thy neighbor? It's everybody, not just the person that physically lives beside you. It's everybody. Every other person here. So thank you, Praetorian. Big shout out to Joshua, the king himself, with a big one today. The Josh Zap, the King Zap. We had Moravian with a double shot, a big one today. We had Maria 2,000, Maria 2,500, Maria 5,000, Maria 10,000 with 5,000 units of freedom. Thank you, Maria. And oh, the guitar was a zap on the Thunderstruck post. Gotcha. Okay. That makes more sense. Thank you, Sats and Sunsets. And I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything else here on Rumble. We had Joshua with a subscription, and we had Sats and Sunsets with a subscription. So let's get these caught up here. But for real. This is an interesting one. From Lebowski, love thy neighbor. That's a tough call. How come? But yes, that's how I feel about it as well. That's how I feel about it. I'm interested to hear what you mean by this. Why is that tough? Okay, so let's get to the MOB today. Is going to be our guy, Ginger, the Ginger himself. I think Ginger's got a couple titles here. Yeah, he won April 7th, and he won March 2nd. So this is going to be at least Ginger's third time here as the MOB for today. We're going to give a special shout out to who? I'm going to say Moravian for showing up here once again, and Joshua. Oh, I got to bring this up, I guess. Sorry, folks. I got to bring this up. So Ginger, big shout out to Ginger today. I guess we got to unbold this. Special shout out to Moravian and Joshua, the king. So with that in mind, we got to update some the tracker here. We got Joshua. He's going to get 2 on the board today, extending the lead. We had Sats and Sunsets with membership today. Was that the right number? Yes. We had Jenny Legendary, not in the house today. Jenny the Legend. Praetorian the Warrior, though. We had Praetorian here with, we're going to give Praetorian 1. We're going to give Letha 1. And who else do we got on the board here? Sats and Sunsets actually had 2. My bad. Sats and Sunsets. Yep. You caught me. You caught me. I knew you would. 1 Memby, 1 Rant. And we got to give 1 to Ginger and 1 to Moravian today. Moravian continuing to climb. So we had a bit of, I'm going to have to do this after, but I had an announcement on school on the weekend. Had an announcement saying we're going to start doing our monthly Mighty Duck. So for the biggest contributor to the community, they're going to get a special prize at the end of each month. So the first one's going to be on May 31st. And it does include being here. It does include memberships. It includes the rants. It includes the zaps. And it includes your participation in the school community. So again, we got almost 250. I'm guessing by the end of today, we're going to have 250 people in there. And you can join for free now if you want to. I would recommend joining as a premium member. You're going to get access to way more. And you're going to be able to compete for the Mighty Duck every month. So there you go. You just got to fill out the 3 questions. If you can beat the questions, then you can join the Visionaries. And Ginger, we got to add Ginger. Where's Ginger? Ginger's going to get 3 for that one. So thank you, Ginger. Congrats to the MOB himself today. Let's buy a little bit of Bitcoin. I bought Saturday and Sunday. I bought some Bitcoin and I shared it on the internet. And it's funny to see some comments on there. People are like, no offense, man, but you're going to have to wait like 50 years for that to be worth anything. Just missing the point. They don't understand that we're buying every day. Ginger, did I update you there? No, I didn't. How are you behind there? Uh-oh, what am I doing here? Ginger, what happened there? I might have to go back and watch that. Was it Ginger at 10 before, or was he at 13? I would have had to move him up there. I might have to revisit this. See what Ginger was at. I questioned myself there. I shouldn't have, because he was moved upwards. I'm gonna put him right here. Because it wouldn't make sense for him to be at 13 and be below there. He would have had to been at 10. And I gave him 3, which would be 13. That would make sense. Oh, whoa. Okay, there we go. Kind of hard to freaking navigate this. So let's buy some Bitcoin today. We'll post it again and see what kind of comments we get on it. Because the whole idea was that it does not matter how much you buy. It only matters that you buy. And people were like, "Oh, that's not enough Bitcoin. You're really making a dent in the world, hey, with 4,000 sats or whatever it was." But little do they know that we're doing this every day, and we've been able to accumulate a significant amount. Captain said Control-Z. Yeah, no, this isn't like Microsoft Word though. It doesn't work quite like that. This is called LibreOffice, and it's kind of a shitty version of it. Okay. And so sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. So why is this not loading here? Okay. Couple more shout outs here. We're going to buy some Bitcoin. We had Sin Diesel in the house today. Sin Deezy. He's up to 18 and a 45. Thank you, Sin. We had somebody zap 420. I don't know who that was from. I'm going to guess it was David T. And we had Sats and Sunsets also zap 16 for show 16. Show 16. So thank you. And let's buy some Bitcoin here. What are we going to get? I think we're going to be a little bit less than yesterday. But where are we at here? Scotty. We're 1.5% up, so that's about even. So we're going to do $8. $8 on our ShakePay app today. So if you're buying with us, if you're buying every day with us, throw it in the chat how much you spent, how much you got, and keep it clean. Keep it pure. $8 today is getting 7225. Uh-oh. Says this action can't be performed outside of Canada. Oops. I wonder why that would say that. Am I not in Canada? Oh, never mind. I am. Never mind. I'm just not really in Canada, if you know what I mean. Let's try this. Buy Bitcoin. There we go. We turned off the switch. 7225. And one of the switches that I just turned off there is I'm going to spend some time on the new digital homestead course talking about the VPN. I just started using a new service last week, and I've been very, very, very impressed with it. And I think I'm going to kind of go through it because it wasn't a real easy thing for me. It should have been, but I'm going to spend some time on one of the upcoming digital homestead episodes because that's what it is. It's more than just like learning about Bitcoin. That's kind of just like the step one. We're going to try to get to like step 21, where we talk about how to buy properly, how to send properly, how to do it privately, how to secure it properly, how to think about things, how to make more Satoshis. It's all kind of tied together in this course. I think it's going to be an awesome one. And it's starting tomorrow. Okay. So here we go. That's what we got. $8, 8 units of illusion got us 7225 units of freedom. And the whole point of this is that it does not matter how much you buy. It only matters that you buy. So whether you're buying $2 worth every day or $5 worth every day or $10 worth or 1,000 every day, it doesn't matter because look at this discrepancy here. 8 units of trash for 7,200 units of freedom. How could you ever go wrong? Whether it's $1, $2, $3, doesn't matter. You just got to do it very consistently, show up, and it's going to accumulate into something very special. Peacemaker, look at this. He says, the only truth is love. That's it. Solves all problems regardless of money. If love is to God or Christ and not the material world or those who are of the world, which means not of spirit, but of flesh. Amen. And what did Lebowski say here? The world as it is filled with people who are not kind and who are impossible to love. I cannot love someone outright as this will lead to my own harm. But you mean well, and perhaps in future we can discuss some nuance. Ooh, that's what Brandon was talking about, some nuance. I know what you're saying. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. But I don't know. I think it's a worthwhile pursuit, personally. And just imagine if you had everybody thinking that way. The world would be a different place. Much different. Okay, so we got the DCA, the smash buy. We got to do the DCA though. Last one. And then we're going to do a raid. We're doing a raid today. We're doing a raid every day. And those who show up in the raids and leave a comment and stick around for a couple minutes, you get, we'll call it points on the board, because it's a really subjective. Me choosing the Mighty Duck every month is very subjective. I have no idea how we've been doing this show for 2.5 hours today. I wanted to do, like Brandon said, he had an hour, but anyways, I guess it's important stuff. No Duncan today, unfortunately, but we did have a double shot of espresso from Moravian today. We had Maria 5000. And we had we had Letha. We'll give it to Letha. Even though it was on a post, we'll give it to Letha. And we're going to give, what was the other one here? Praetorian. The espresso man himself, the Guardian. So thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. And we're going to be doing more of it, as we talked about. So that's it. That's all. Oh, we got a raid. Shit. So stick around if you're... oh, you know what I forgot to do? Oh, well, it doesn't matter now. Too late. Okay, so let's do a raid. Let's raid. So I'm going to actually end the YouTube stream right now. Thanks, everybody on YouTube, for being here. I hope you enjoyed the conversation today. We're going to be back here tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to do 2 shows or not tomorrow, but I'm definitely going to be one on YouTube, which is going to be the very first edition of the new digital homestead course. So you can check it out. You can attend that first if you want to join after, or you can just join today. I'll have the link in the pinned comments below, school.com/88 sats. Very easy, but you can join for free. We hope you join as a premium member and go through the digital homestead course where we talk about privacy, VPNs, non-KYC stuff, how to make more sats, how to think about things, how to change your mindset about the crazy world we're in. It's a very well-rounded course, 8 pillars to be exact. And most importantly, how to get into a multi-sig and how to make sure that if something were to happen to you unexpectedly tomorrow, how your family would be able to access your Bitcoin. So it'd be impossible for me to overstate the importance of this, but I hope that you join us over there tomorrow. It'll be on YouTube. First episode is going to be on YouTube, and then the rest are going to be on school. So we'll see you tomorrow.